And we're back on Central Valley Talk with my next guest. He is a local author, Trona, Bloody Trona, the name of his book. The author, Paul Henry Abram. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mike. Good to see you.
We were talking during the commercial break. This book is about a very bloody labor dispute that happened down in the Mojave Desert area back in 1970. And I said, I'd never heard of this.
Yeah.
I bet, have any of you ever heard of this? No, but nobody's heard of it. Why?
Oh, my wife's out there
Well,
somewhere.
your wife's heard of it, okay. But how has this thing slipped under the radar if it was as crazy as you seem to make it out?
Oh, it didn't. It did not in any way. It was major media. But you're talking about 1970. It took me
that long ago.
Well, it was a long time ago. It took me 40-some years to write it. Trona is a small little town. It's called the Gateway to Death Valley out in the middle of the Mojave Desert. It's east of Ridgecrest. And
is it Kern County or?
No, it's the worst of all, San Bernardino County.
The worst of all.
Well, San Bernardino was very proud of the fact that their sheriff's department recruited all of their deputies from Macon, Georgia, and this was at a time when black churches were still being burnt down in Macon, Georgia. Ooh. So that'll tell you something about the politics of San Bernardino County at the time.
My two brothers were born in Riverside.
Yeah. Well, about the biggest thing that ever happened in Trona was Charles Manson, during the strike, was arrested up in the Panamint Mountains, and they brought him into Trona and put him in the Trona jail overnight. As I state in the book, Charlie had decided that he was going to take the whole family out of Los Angeles from the Spawn Ranch, and he was going to move them to hell. And, well, he was just outside of Trona, so he came close.
You know, Charlie's just down the street from us now in, Corcoran or?
Yeah, he's in Corcoran.
Yeah, wow. Anyway, back to, give me the nutshell of this strike. This was a mining company?
750 workers went out on strike, legal strike. The company refused to sign a contract during negotiations, and I was called up to represent the 750 striking members and their families.
But what were they mining?
Trona mines. The company is Kerr-McGee. They had just bought out American Potash, actually after the strike started. And Kerr-McGee is at the time was the world's largest conglomerate. And they pump brine out of the Searles Dry Lake. Searles Lake is the largest dry lake in California. At one time, it was one of the largest lakes, wet lakes. But under the surface is brine, and they pump the brine out into the plant. It processes through various departments, and they make potash, they make Trona, they make pyrite, you name it, borax, boraxo, Pyrex for making dinnerware, glassware.
Okay. So it had been a union operation up until 1970.
Yes.
It was a contract dispute.
Contract dispute.
And it got very, very bloody.
Well, yeah, one of my clients decided one night that he was going to show the world that Kerr-McGee was lying when they said it was not a lockout. The men were free to go back to work at any time.
Well,
so
companies always say
so
that.
He climbed over the front fence, which was locked and heavily guarded, and with me and many others standing there watching and filming, and he climbed the gate, with his lunchbox in hand, and said, "I'm going back to work." And the Whacking Hut guard said, "No, you're not." They were the security group hired by the company to beat down the strike. They were called Whacking Huts at the time. They've now evolved into what we know as Blackwater, those really bad guys that do all of our killing overseas. Anyway, he climbed over the fence, climbed down the other side, sat down on the ground, started to light up a cigarette, and the Whacking Hut shot him with a shotgun from about less than 10 feet away.
You kill him? Or?
No, I didn't kill him. We got him out, put him in my car, drove him to the local aid station, and he lived. And not very long before that, they had out in the middle of the desert tracked down a couple of guys, and it's not clear why. I know why, but they shot him too. That was Clarence Kramer. They shot him down. We had several incidents like that. We had a incident where a single car collision with a striker, and it rolled over, and the striker was killed, and the car rolled over, and I have the sheriff's report. In the sheriff's report, the final line says, "No action to be taken. It was determined that the bullet entered the tire after it went flat."
What?
Yeah, follow that. Anyway, I'm here for a whole different reason.
Which is?
That the book in the book, for reasons given in the book, I relate a couple of years, 3 years of my being a spy for NSA. I joined the United States Air Force Security Service, and then I was sent to language school, and I learned Russian, and then I was sent to spy school, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I ended up over on the island of Crete in Greece as a spy for NSA at a listening station. And
are you allowed to talk about this stuff?
I'm doing it. And we...
are we still on the air, Bill? They haven't shut us down yet? Okay.
Yeah, well, the book's been out now for almost 3 years.
Okay.
I haven't been prosecuted yet.
So what do you want folks to know about?
I want them to know that Dag Hammarskjöld, for those of us that still remember him as the great man that he was, John F. Kennedy said he couldn't compare himself to such a man as Dag Hammarskjöld. Harry Truman is the only politician back then that actually came out and said he was killed, meaning murdered. I was, as a spy on Crete, monitoring the bloody Congo. The Congo crisis was taking place, and during that period of time, Dag Hammarskjöld, as the first Secretary General of the United Nations, had been traveling everywhere trying to put together a peace agreement, and he had it. He had it in hand, and he was flying into Ndola Airport, which is now part of Rhodesia, and he was going to have the last signatories together to sign it to stop this horrendous, bloody massacre of a war that was taking place throughout Central Africa. The United States was profiting enormously from it because of ammunition sales.
Got to get to your point here.
Okay, the point is that I monitored ground forces that fired upon the plane and shot it down and killed him, murdered him. And I also monitored a broadcast of a person saying the Americans shot down his plane. Now, I don't know who said it, and I don't know whether or not the Americans really did, but I believe they did. At any rate, the United Nations has now reopened the investigation. Sweden has contacted me about the book. Toronto, Canada, they're going to fly me up there and do a TV show up there because nothing was ever, the NSA was never investigated, nor were there tape recordings. Everything I did was tape recorded, nor did they ask for the tape recordings. So much material has come out since they reached the conclusion that it was pilot error and the plane crashed into the mountain. And of course, I and others in NSA know that that's not true.
Who would want to cover that up, though?
Why wouldn't the United Nations want to cover it up? We've covered up a number of other things. This is the same government that said that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Come on, give me a break. Like I said, they were gaining the amount of money that was being made over that war, that worthless, horrible massacre. We were selling guns to every side involved, and there were about 6 or 7 emerging nations that were involved. And every one of them were spending millions upon millions on U.S. arms.
Well, I can tell you're a man not afraid to speak his mind.
No,
so.
I'm not.
Where can folks find this book, Trona, Bloody Trona?
On your website, they can get it.
That's right. I'm supposed to mention that.
Yeah.
If you're on CentralValleyTalk.com right now, just go to the bookstore at the top of the page, and you can order the book there. But are there other places they can go to? Amazon? Or
my website is the best place to get it.
Which is?
www, just my full name, paulhenryabram.com, because you not only get it cheaper, you get it faster, and you get it autographed.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
There you go. Paul, nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. It's been a pleasure.
Interesting discussion.
Thanks for
having me.
having
You heard
me
it
on.
right here on Central Valley Talk.